talking about those two situations independently, getting the contributions of the cooperative movement, we see how these things come together in one ideological framework. The framework is economics by the people, for the people, and economics by a few people for themselves. So this is the choices that we see each of them. As I understood it when Brother Keel indicated I was going to talk the first time, he said I was going to say something about politics or the political impact of this economic situation. This is not an original discussion. It goes way back. It is a particularly important discussion when it involves oppressed people figuring out how to get control of their lives. Back in the days of excitement during the African revolutions on the continent, when we had Kwame Nkrumah, Julius Nyerere, Sekou Touré, and all those other greats, Patrice Lumumba, who were liberating and fighting to liberate their homeland. One of the things that they united around, they said, politics must take command. Now, when they said that politics must take command, they were not trying to demote or in any way demean the necessity of strong economic development. They were saying that if we plan on fighting a capitalist with dollars, then we will lose because the capitalists got more dollars than we do, right? And so what the point was is how do we use politics to seize control of the dollars or the dollar-making apparatus in order to serve our people. And so they fought, they took over their countries, at least politically, but then they had some failures. And the failures really aligned around a couple of different things. Number one, the failure was there is because there was no one really waging that same kind of struggle that our brothers were waging where they were here where we are. Our struggle has always been here, but in many instances it has been quite confused. At the height of our civil rights struggle, it was only when King got killed that he was visiting the concept of the poor people's march, and the whole stuff, the whole entity about campaigning and fighting for economic revolution. In fact, in his speech opposing the war on Vietnam, King came out and said that one of the three of the triple evils of America was economic exploitation. He also listed racism and he listed war. And he said this thing was this revolutionary. He didn't say that we must try to reform this. He didn't say that we got to kind of work with this. He didn't say just all y'all go home and pray and hope it goes away. What he said is that America has to be reborn, all right? And so what he was saying is you got to tear that temple down and you got to rebirth that temple. This was something that Malcolm had been saying for years. But Malcolm pointed out when he talked about capitalism, he says that capitalism, having capitalism and trying to have freedom was kind of like a chicken trying to birth a duck egg, right? I might get my duck and chicken mixed up, I don't know. But in any event, he made his point. And so what we had was an understanding here in our movement of fighting for rights against rigorous Jim Crow-ism and apartheid. But the understanding that King and Malcolm both were coming to about the economic system as being one of the critical opponents of freedom was never truly led to fruition. And to the revolutionary and the progressive and the nationalist groups that took this up, the United States government waged a counterintelligence program to destroy these groups, to demean these groups, and to try to embarrass them amongst the population that they serve. so what was a progressive movement demanding revolutionary change, particularly in the economic system, began to become demeaning. And those same corners where those groups used to sell papers and politicize, now they sell drugs and degenerate. And so that was some of the ways that the movement never caught full fire here, and at the same time, that's what frustrated the movements worldwide. It is important to understand King Simon said that injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. Derek talks about globalization and the global movement. Injustice doesn't only apply to killing Afghanistan people, murdering them. It doesn't only apply to destroying really economically progressive societies like Libya. But what it applies to also is a question of economics. And so when you see the United States now boldly advertising, come join the Navy because it's a global force for good, right? If it ain't trying to take over the world, then why is it a global force, right? And the same thing is true about all the other armies that spread all over the world. They worried about Saddam Hussein, and he can't even shoot a Scud missile straight to Israel, which is right next to him. And yet they got armies in Africa, Middle East. You can't name a spot on the globe that the United States doesn't have military or not trying to get military. And if you thought that they were out there to stop oppression and to stop the world from being taken over by some imperialist maniac, then you've been had. You've been hoodwinked, bamboozled. Because the United States is that force that not only is trying to take over the world, but has taken over the world. And they come back with different excuses for the takeover. It used to be that they were trying to stop communism. Where is communism now, right? And so now that the Russians are no longer communists, they got some other boogeyman in the closet. They fight against the insane Islamic people who don't like their way of life. Most Islamic people who live in other countries don't give a damn about the United States. They couldn't care about the United States way of life, other than the fact that the United States got military over there defacing and disgracing their temples and things of that nature. So we got to